Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be setting up another bullet journal spread, and this time around it is for the month of August. But first, let's just do a quick flip through of my July setup. So for the month of July, I decided to do a kind of journey theme. This is how it turned out. I think it is pretty cute, and I love all the lettering that I did for this month, as well as all of the different weekly spreads that I did. I think I really enjoyed most of the spreads, but as you can tell, I kind of got a bit lazy along the way, so I kind of didn't really fill up my weekly spreads that much, but overall I still really like how they all turned out. But without further ado, let's just get right into the main point of this video. So for the month of August, I am going to be doing a kind of fairy tale kind of theme, which is definitely not something new. I've seen this theme on multiple places already, but I decided to do it for myself as well. This theme may kind of look similar to my June theme. If you guys can remember, my June theme was mostly centered around mushrooms and ferns, so my cover page for August will be a mushroom as well, and I thought that it was quite similar, but I decided to do something different by finally taking out my paints and doing some painting after such a long period of time. And also for the month of August, I decided to use slightly more vibrant colors as well. As you can tell, the colors that I've been mixing using my gouache paints, the colors are a little bit more vibrant, and I actually like how they turned out. I love the saturation of the colors and just how bright and cheery it looks. So for my August cover page, I just decided to use my Canson watercolor paper, and that's kind of like the only watercolor paper I've been using for the longest time, and I just love the quality of that watercolor paper. I think it just works really well for me. As for the paints, I'm using my Himimiya gouache paints, and of course I love those colors. I just love the selection of colors from the gouache paint palette. But I think, if I'm not wrong, this particular paint palette that I'm using is the pastel color, not their original palette colors. So I love using this paint palette especially for this. So yeah, I've just been painting and just enjoying the entire process. It's been a very long time since I've been painting, and honestly I think that I've really missed painting, and so I am hoping to be able to go back to it after such a long time of taking a hiatus from painting. I'm really excited to go back into it. And speaking of going back into painting, I've recently bought a new sketchbook, and I'm super excited to start painting in it. I've been looking for an art sketchbook for the longest time, but I haven't been able to find a good one. I finally got a sketchbook from Amazon, so I'm super excited. It's supposed to be arriving in the mail soon, so I'm really excited to just start painting once again in a sketchbook. Going back to the painting, I'm just trying to create more depth to my painting, and I did this by just using the same base colors and then mixing them to make them lighter or darker in shade, so that they would be able to give the illusion of more depth and a more 3D kind of look, if that makes sense. Because I felt that the hills were looking a little bit too dull, I decided to add a few more layers on top of them in different colors, just to make it seem like there's little grass as well as flowers on the top of the fields, and I think that really helps in making the fields appear a bit more lively. finished off the entire painting by using my acrylograph pens from Archer and Olive to just add a few more highlights as well as to outline a few areas, and I think that I really like this method of illustration onto the painting. And yeah, I just think it turned out really nice, and I'm super pleased with how it turned out that I decided to scan it up to keep it in my computer as well before I ruined it by writing the word August onto it. So that is how my cover page looks like. And now moving on to my calendar spread. For the rest of the spreads, I decided not to do any painting for the rest of my spreads because that would take too much time, and I was not a big fan of painting for all of the spreads. I think it would just be too much for me. I decided to use my acrylograph pen set, and it was just as well because my Archer and Olive subscription box came in the mail. I had new acrylograph pens to try out, so I really wanted to use them in my August setup. And if you guys haven't seen my Archer and Olive subscription box unboxing yet, go and check that out. I will link it in the top right hand corner so you guys can go check it out. I really like the selection of things in the subscription box, and I think they all look really nice and cute, and I'm super excited to use all of them. I will be using some of their washi tapes in this August setup as well. So now moving on to my habit and my mood tracker. These are things that I've been placing in every single one of my months so far, and I really like just being able to keep track of my habits as well as my mood. This time around I decided to do something simpler. For my habit tracker, I just decided to mimic a scroll, and I think it turned out really nice. It's just a torn up old scroll that you see in those old fairy tales, and then I just decided to write 6 habits to put down. For every single month, sometimes my habits do switch up a little bit based on what I'm trying to focus on for that month, but I always just try to keep 6 habit trackers because I just don't want to become too overwhelmed with trying to keep track of so many habits that I end up not doing any at all. Even with just 6, I find myself not being able to keep up with them that much either way. And for my mood trackers, just something even simpler. I'm just going to be doing a line graph to just depict my emotions along the way, and yeah, I'm just going to be filling them up with acrylographs afterwards. You guys will be able to see it at my final flip through when I do my setup for September. Now moving on to my one line a day spread, and this is something that has become a staple in all of my monthly setups as well. One thing I really like doing is to compare how my mood was for that day as well as what I wrote down on my one line a day spread. I think there's usually quite a lot of correlation between the two, and I think having a one line a day spread is just really nice to be able to look back on and I guess kind of see how my days have been going so far. So just really writing down one highlight of my day and extending also to 2 pages makes it much easier for me to be able to write down what happened for that day. I used to just write it on 1 page, but I decided that those were just a bit too restrictive for me, so I decided to extend it to 2 pages. And also I did the exact same layout for my July one line a day spread. I really liked that layout, so I decided to do the exact same thing for the month of August as well. And I just think that, and even though it looks similar, I think if a layout works for me, why not just do it, right? And even though the 2 layouts do look similar, I think there's no harm redoing layouts as long as they work for me. Once again, I'm using my Stabilo highlighter just like I did in July, and then just highlighting alternate lines, which I think worked great for me. Right now for my fave log, what I'm doing is to kind of mimic a cover of a storybook. So just cut out a blue paper from Arch and Olive and then pasted it onto the bullet journal, and then pasting some stickers and just doing simple lettering on the area with my gold pen. Something super simple for my fave log. And now moving on to my first weekly setup, I decided to kind of carry on the idea of a storybook cover, but this time around what I'm planning to do is to use all the different paper colors from the Arch and Olive Neapolitan journal and just cut tiny storybooks out of them. And it's a little bit difficult to explain, but I think you guys will be able to understand when you see what I'm doing later. But all I'm doing is to cut tiny slits in my paper, and then afterwards I'm using a washi tape to kind of demarcate those slits out, and also to just kind of reinforce them so they don't tear too easily in the future. Do take note that if you guys do want to do something like that, you have to make sure that you have dedicated 2 pieces of paper for this, because you got to paste them onto the other side of the paper, if that makes sense, so that there's something to slot into. Once again, I'm using washi tape to kind of make that hard binder section of all the books. It turned out really cute. It was just as well that I had these washi tapes lying around that kind of fit the mood of a hard-bound storybook cover kind of feel. So I decided to use those, and then just pasted them on all of my books. And then for the titles, I'm just writing the date as well as the day on the cover page. And I think they turned out really cute. This is just a really simple spread, and I just love the whole idea of it. And with that, I'm done with my setup for the month of August. It's really just a pretty simple setup. I actually added a few more spreads as an afterthought, so you guys will be able to see those spreads in September when I do a flip through of the entire August setup. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!